Okay. Das funktioniert schon mal. Alright, welcome to tonight's stream. It's an unscheduled stream, so the topic is something different tonight. It's about this image here. It's not made by me, it's made by a good friend of mine called Pia. And she has this problem when she paints. She gets to a stage where she doesn't know how to continue and quickly runs out of ideas. And I know this problem pretty well, and I have my own techniques to cope with it, and I would like to demonstrate them, or demonstrate my process, how to get around these problems. And the trick is all in the workflow. So, alright. If you're one of those artists who likes to construct an image and work with a lot of layers and be very clean about your silhouettes, you might face this problem more often than if you have a different approach. But there is basically one solution to this: bombard it with reference material and let yourself be guided by the reference material. There is never a point where you get to a stage and say, okay, I'm done, now I can just refine it. Well, there is this point, but it's quite in the end, and it's a fuzzy process. You will have more and more parts of your image being ready to be, painted over or stylized. But until you get to this point, you have to stay in one very conceptual stage, from your mindset as well as your execution. So yes, she has painted this image and wasn't sure how to proceed, and I want to get try my own drift on this image, so to speak. Alright, so let's see how to approach it. So first of all, I think I will make it way wider, because I just like it that way. And for me, the subject matter at this moment is not super interesting. Well, it's important, but I will return to it at one point anyway. I just want to stretch the image, and I keep one layer as a baseline for the original idea, so to speak, so I can build on top of that or refer to it at some point. Okay. Another point, or another thing that I like to use always, is the photo filter, because this gives the image a very consistent, or pushes the colors in a very consistent tone. Yeah, I think I like that. I don't know, it's my personal preference. I like it when everything is a little bit warmer. Okay, now my typical technique: smudge it all out and get the juicy colors out of the image. There are some really cool color transitions here and there, and I would like to enhance them and focus on the color transitions itself, because right now there are so many details, and when you're not used to working with photo plates, you might get absorbed and distracted by the details, and you try to keep them, though it's better to destroy everything. Alright. And this is basically an overpaint. So if I would have to design this image on my own, I would approach it a little bit differently. Maybe make some black and white sketches first to figure out what's the best composition. And of course, before I do anything, I would probably spend half a day for searching for reference material. If it were to a picture for a client, for instance. Yeah. And for this kind of nature-esque images, I really like to check out 3 artists that influenced me when I started out, and this is Feng Zhu, Craig Mullins, and Sergei Kolesov, because I really love their way of approaching nature and leaves and how they paint trees. Feng Zhu most and foremost for his composition, Craig Mullins the way how he handles light and details, and Sergei Kolesov how he stylizes it and how he works with color. When I first looked at this image, the thing that I wanted to fix, the very first thing, was this rock, because it looks like some kind of tool in its shape. The shape is not rocky enough for my personal taste. I would distinguish it a little bit more, or make it a little bit more characteristic probably. And it's supposed to be a bridge, I assume, so maybe we could keep this idea somehow. These are just thoughts in the back burner of my head, so to speak. But the shape of things, it's a very important thing, especially if you work with thumbnails and work with a very limited amount of values. You have to be really careful about your outlines or silhouettes, because they communicate a lot, and this is a way how our eyes function. The detail within an object is not necessarily that important or has the same priority as the outline and the contrast to the surrounding area. So this is something we want to approach relatively early on in our process. But for me, for my personal workflow, it's not the most important point, or at least not in this kind of approach that I'm trying to go for here. Because right now the atmosphere is more important. The subject matter is not the most important thing right now. Alright. I mean, yeah. Well, we'll see how this goes. Destroy this first. Okay, the thing with smudging is sometimes it gives you really interesting colors, but sometimes it just tones down colors, and you have to slap on new interesting impulses of colors into your image in order to make them vivid again. You can do this by either increasing the contrast or introducing photo plates to your image and see what it does to your image. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's experimental. You have to try it out. And this is the thing I really love about Photoshop, is the blending modes, because they give you more colors than you could have in the beginning and mixes them in a very interesting way. You never know what comes out of it, so this is a great tool. I'm not sure if other programs have something similar, but I really prefer, or really like, the algorithm of the overlay blending mode. And at this point, all you have to do is bombard it with images, smudge them, blend them, see where you get interesting colors, interesting pieces and bits, and collect them. And try to keep in mind what your original design is. Because in the end, it's a hybrid. You let yourself be guided by whatever emerges in your image, and the other part of you tries to follow up a design agenda. But right now I have these cool saturated colors in this area, and I really would like to keep them for the image. It's basically a color palette that I'm collecting. And I really love the contrast between these warm brown, almost violet kind of color, and the green, yellow, and the bluish in the background. It's very cool. And the image itself, the original, doesn't have these colors. They only came by blending them together. So the cool thing is, even if you're worried that you might use some, I don't know, I don't want to say copyright color palette, but yeah, if you don't want to stick too close to your reference images, by blending them together and smudging over them, you basically destroy the content, and there is no original palette that you could refer to, because you basically create something completely new at this point. Whoops. Come on. All right. It's going to be tricky, but we'll see. Maybe it works. Oh, it's a little bit too intense. Yeah, it could work. Oops. Another thing that helps me when I work with photo plates is giving me some kind of new ideas. What I realized when I painted and when I started out painting, and what I see with a lot of other artists, is they force themselves to create everything out of their mind, out of their head, based on their visual library. And this is extremely hard, and people have this weird expectations that they must be able to do that in order to be a good artist because they've seen some other artists do it. Well, the trick is the other guy, he does nothing else. You know, he or she paints the same subject matter, and this is everything they do, and you have to adjust if this is what you want to be able to do, because in my case I don't want to be so highly specialized in one subject matter. I'd rather be versatile and be intelligent and creative in my way of handling problematic situations. And having a good folder with a lot of reference material and the ability to apply it in an image is way more useful for me than being able to paint something limited out of my head. At least that's my opinion. What's cool about this part is I like these rocks and this indication of tree lines and this light shining through. It's similar to what my friend wanted to do, and I think I just like to have a little bit grander scale on this, a little bit more depth, a little bit more out in the distance. Whoops. Shut up. Because one of the problems this image has is it's a lot of detail everywhere. Of course, it's more a concept, and it's unclear where the eyes have to focus, and I would like to keep things in the background a little bit more silhouette-like and maybe shift the focus on something else here. I'm not sure what yet. Maybe a couple of houses or a path, light falling on a path. We will see. Hopefully this image will help us to figure it out. Oh yeah, this is actually not bad. One thing that also can be very difficult is if you have different photo plates but they don't have the same color temperature, to adjust them equally, because the picture I slapped in the background is a little bit too cold for the stuff going on in the front. I'm not sure if this is a problem, if it will be a problem or not. As I've shown you before, you have this... Okay, Windows is just crapping out. Yeah, it might not be a problem because in the background stuff that is farther away used to be more desaturated or bluish in color tone, so maybe I won't have to change anything. But things in the foreground, they can't be too cold. I can't take an image that is cold and pair it with an image that is warm. It's going to be tough. I hope you can still see my stream. Yes, it's the streams. Yeah, Windows. Yeah, if I try to avoid this, you can adjust your images before merging them by hue and saturation, for instance, or by applying the photo filter, or any other method. You know, maybe make another layer with a certain color and merge it with the photo plate, then merge the photo plate on top of your image. Different ways, but just be aware of the concept of color temperature, consistency. Oh, this is really interesting. This turquoise, I don't know how to pronounce it, color in this context, really great. I hope I can keep it. Or make a memo to apply this kind of color in certain spots. Okay, apparently one part of my image has a very strong contrast somewhere and details are not coming through, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's the YouTube compression, I don't know. Okay. Oh. Okay, I see. The comment was about my face, not the image. Oh, I get it. Oh, crap. Siehst du, ich bin so fertig, ich krieg nicht mal geschnallt, was du mir da schreibst, ey. Oh, Kacke, ey. Alright, we're getting more and more interesting colors into this image. What I'm not satisfied with is this part here, because it's too muddy, but I really like this one. It has this extremely juicy greens and interesting dark spots, interesting turquoise. This one is great, but the rest not happy with. And ja, lach ruhig, alles gut. Guckt eh keiner zu, außer du. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So, before I go into detail, I want to make sure that every part of the image, or at least 80–90%, has a color palette that I really resonate with, because this leads my idea. This is the basis for my image. Because when I zoom in, I can already make out, oh, this is a rock and it has this and this shape. My subconscious will guide me how to paint these things, or which kind of reference material I should slap on top of that. And before this fundamental thing is not set, there is no point in continuing. You will constantly have this gut feeling that something is off with the image if you pump details on top of it, because won't work if the color palettes are off. This is my personal conviction, and it might not necessarily be the color but the values, or both. Ja. Ja, auf jeden Fall. Da ist tatsächlich sogar ein Bach in der Mitte angedacht. Das stimmt. Ah, sorry, I switched to English. Yeah, the original image has envisioned some kind of stream, so I definitely want to reincorporate this into the image. But before this happens, I need more awesome colors. Ja, that's true. Das stimmt. Sollen, glaube ich, aber dann Bäume sein. Oder? Ne, tatsächlich, ja, sind Bäume. Okay, another technique to apply color temperature consistency to your image is to again work with the overlay blending mode. I just slapped on some orangey color in this corner where I feel that it's still too cold, and I blended it together and it works better. It's a little bit more consistent. Right. What kind of images? Let's see if we can make this one work. But where to put it? And from time to time you basically get smaller and smaller reference images, because you get more specific in your application of the information. Mitte, mittens. Meinst du das? Was meinst du? And also the brush strokes can be smaller and smaller. And at some point in the near future, probably soon after that, I will need to find a little bit more reference material, because I haven't really researched anything for this image. Two things that I would like to talk about as well is dark spots. Whenever you merge images together, you can run into the problem that your darks will get really, really dark, and for some reason this always looks muddy and dirty, and I do not like this. It shows that you're an unexperienced artist if you cannot solve or if you cannot control values and darks and lights in your image. So what I like to do is whenever I merge something and I see that there are parts of it that are really dark, I smudge some brighter color inside of the shadow so it gets warm, it gets more nuanced, and it just feels and looks better. The other thing is, right now there might be a little bit too much going on in this image. We have waterfalls, we have sun rays, we have mountains, trees, tilted mountains, possibly a river and buildings. There was a time where concept art has all been, how should I say, it was the rage to cramp as much stuff in it as possible to make it really dense with information and things and epicness. But some artists like Sergei Kolesov work with a lot of open spaces. They lead the eye and the focus of the audience by being very deliberate and careful with their composition. And I'd like to get a good mixture between dense detail and open space. And right now there might be a lot, maybe too much going on, so I have to keep this in mind to simplify the image here and there, but it has to be the right simplification at the right spots as well. So okay, this is maybe a little bit too extreme. Well, can't get any worse. Yeah, I really like this part. It's a little bit illogical where it's sitting in the space. It should be really close because it has some really dark tones. But I will tackle the logic when I'm satisfied with every corner of the image. Just have to get rid of this weird yellow, it doesn't fit. And I have this part which seems disconnected somehow, to take care of that as well. All right. Oh, Jesus, people wrote me. I haven't really seen this. Okay. Moin. So, alright. Lionel XD and Gregordsman. Hi. Thank you for joining. Oops. Alright. Lionel XD. Yes, I'm doing 2D animation as well. Greg. Hey man, I'm sick and I can barely focus, but I still try to churn out the stream. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by and looking at my stuff, Greg. I didn't really expect anyone to write me, so I haven't checked, which is really a pity. Okay, this is too dark. Oh, yeah, man. I hope this is chill enough for your taste. I would really love to play some, or to let you participate to the music I'm listening, because it's really relaxing, but I will get a copyright claim if I mix it into my stream, unfortunately. Doesn't work. Yeah, man, I'm photo bashing. It's my way to go if I try to create some new ideas. Well, it's just one stage of a pretty long process of painting, just to get a basis, a fundament. Fundament? Does this word exist? Yeah, I think you know what I mean. Just, yeah, to get a baseline for an idea, and photo bashing helps me a lot with that. In some cases, reference material doesn't blend, your reference images won't blend that well into your idea, so there is no shame in going back and forth and deleting it and trying different things. A big part of the process is also figuring out what you don't want to have in your image, so that's all fine. Not sure where to place this, and if it works, we'll see. It gets too dark. And don't want to lose the colors I have already established in this particular spot. Oh, these are nice colors. Might solve my problem here, because I have this part of the image that I'm really unhappy with. By the way, sorry if I switch to German from time to time. I have another chat open and I try to talk in different languages. Was meinst du mit richtig krass vorbereitet? Meinst du, ist es jetzt ein Scherz oder meinst du es ernst? Okay, this is not bad. It gives me some playfulness with light at this spot. It gives me some kind of content, what could be in front or closer to the viewer. And it gives me interesting colors. Oh, I love these dark greens and with this, I don't even know what kind of color this is. Yeah, you wouldn't know. It's actually super saturated green and super dark as well. But it still creates a nice interplay, contrast, difficult to say. But these are already or somehow nuances that I personally like to play with. They look great, they feel great, and Sergei Kolesov does this a lot. I actually stole this, how should I say, not technique, but this way of working with colors from him, or I learned it from him, and it's, yeah, just has some flair to it that I wouldn't want to miss. This spot is too dark. It has to go away. I don't like this. Let's see if we can. Maybe. And I think it's totally fine to use one reference image over and over again. I think I've already painted pictures that only refer back to one reference image, and I've cut it apart in pieces and stretched it and squeezed it and mirrored it and did everything with it, so I had a consistent color theme going on across the whole image. Oh man, alright. Yeah, Greg, to answer your question, this image is just an overpaint for a friend of mine. It has nothing to do with my movie, but the other, I'm not sure if you have seen the other streams or something else, but I'm also working on a short movie which plays in a dystopian cyberpunk future, and it's about a girl that struggles with her surroundings but eventually finds a way to cope with it, and it's a very dark, tail, so to speak. Maybe I will just post a link to my Patreon site. If you want to read up upon it a little bit, you can do this, or I would be really grateful if you would do that. I might have advertised this night's stream session in the wrong manner, so I'm sorry about that. All right. Okay, the reference images, it's just a folder of some nature stuff that I've collected over the time. It was very unspecific, it just happens to fit well. And the stuff I'm talking about, these are just thoughts that are passing my head while painting. So actually I haven't really prepared, to be honest. It's very spontaneous. Oh, awesome, Greg. Cool. Yeah, man, you can drop me a line if you like it, or if you have feedback. I think there is my email there, and I would love to discuss this with you if you're interested. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate that. There is one animation test at the bottom with a crane. You can check this one out because it shows how the environmental animation will feel and look like. It's a little bit, I don't know, Akira-esque, maybe. Warum feierst du denn jetzt so ab? Okay, it's getting better and better. I'm more satisfied with the corners of the image. And yeah, I hope the compression doesn't kill it off, but if I switch back and forth, I can see, okay, this is very light in general, and I really like to pull it a little bit in the more darker and saturated realms. And slowly I can start to think about the composition maybe and the subject matter itself. One thing that I'm not completely happy about is the sky on the top left, and still the background here, it's too cold. So I have to fix it somehow. Whoops. Yeah, man, I can explain the photo bashing process. It's a technique to generate ideas in the first place. You can use photos on different stages of your image. Usually I use them very early on and in the end. In the end, I use them just to texture and to give the image more detail, but at the beginning I use them to create color palettes. So I throw photos on the image and merge them together and smudge them so I get interesting colors, but at the same time I destroy the content of the image so it doesn't distract me. And right now I'm basically like in a, how should I say, in the middle step. I have sort of a vague idea about the subject matter of the image, but I'm not satisfied with every corner of the image and every color there is. So I use photos to introduce new colors into my image, and try to show it. Let me see, maybe as an example. I'm not sure if I intend to keep it, but for instance, I take this mountaintop and I have this blue area here and I'm not sure what to put there, so I say, I'm gonna try these mountains. I have them on a separate layer and I have a blending mode, and I usually use something called overlay, but there are also other blending modes depending on the situation that you like to apply. Yes, exactly. I merge them, I blur them, and I paint over them. Very standard, actually. Yeah, like this. And you could merge them and then smudge over them. Because smudging gives you... yeah, it destroys all the fine detail that you don't need at this stage, but you get really interesting values and colors and maybe not textures, but shapes, and your subconscious can work on top of that. But I'm not very satisfied with the result. It's just, it was just a technical example. Because right now the image is kind of too divided. I have this corner that is just cut out here and I have to fill it with something that makes sense. For me personally, it's just way quicker to photo bash and blur the photos and get interesting colors here and there than to work from a palette. Huh. Well, interesting. How's the your voyage going? I mean, have you had some successful gigs? Or in which company do you want to go? Is there any plan laid out, or do you just do 3D stuff for fun? Would be really interesting to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, man, the business is tough. Do you want to go more into games or more into movies? Ha, yes. I do understand your struggle, man. Um, I hate Maya. I tried to work with Maya and it's so bugged. It has such an old kernel. I've just worked with Blender for a couple of weeks. I think it's an awesome program for being completely free. Yeah, but it's not the industry standard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really backwards. Have you worked with Cinema 4D? Yeah, Modo. Yes, I am. I've decided to work with Cinema 4D, and I have to say, compared to Maya, it's such a man, such a luxurious application. It's so tight, everything works. You barely have any hiccups. It's so logical within itself, and for my purpose, it has everything I want. So I can't complain at all. Houdini. But isn't Houdini more like a renderer or a node-based something VFX compositing program or something? Ah, I see. I see. Ah, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, man. I wonder if there will be a time where procedural tools can be coupled with, how should I say, artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms, so you can save yourself working, your butt off for some repetitive structures like cities and things like that. Oh, interesting. How exactly do you define mood? Do you have a parameter at the beginning where you say it's like, uh, I don't know, dusk or something like this? Or, yeah, how do you go about it? Oh. Oh, I see. This is really interesting. Okay, well, sounds like you're way beyond being a hobbyist in these realms. It actually sounds like this could be something for an art project. Like interface, human interface and interpretation of moods and converting them into materials and so on. Yeah, of course. We always I think there is a difference between the ability to keep learning and being a professional. I mean, you can still incorporate both. And 5 years, isn't this already a senior? I mean, after 5 years of working freelance, you probably are senior then. Well, if you like, you can show me some of your portfolio, some of your stuff. Would be really interested to see that. I see. Okay, I'm checking it out. Is it okay if I put it on the main screen, on the stream screen? All right. Huh. This is cool. I can see all the blocks moving to some kind of music, like an audio waveform. This would be interesting to animate. I know you can do stuff like that procedurally in Cinema 4D because it's made for these kinds of applications. Oh, nice. Love the scratches. Yeah, great surface. Is this a real weapon? I mean, or is it your own Bullpup design? Oh, interesting. All right. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Looks British. I'm a little bit surprised how far back the ejector goes, but probably this is something that bullpups are just yeah, maybe it's typical for them, I don't know. I always thought the ejector is on the same alignment as the magazine, but or maybe this is the case, or I'm interpreting it wrong. Stamped sheet metal, cool stuff. Ah, good to know. Yeah, there are some really bad ones out there. Oh, there is one really odd made by a South African company. I think it's called Techno Arms, and they made it looks like an Uzi, but it's actually a shotgun, and it's so bad. Or Techno Arms. Yes, the Mag 7. I hope you can see it. It looks like this, and it's so weird. It has such a weird cartridge. Like, it's not 12 gauge, it's something like, I don't know, 10 gauge or something. You can buy ammunition for it, and I think it's also implemented in Counter-Strike, and it's just so bad. Apparently when you cock it, or I don't know how you call it, when you pump it, because it's a pump action, you hit your finger with it all the time. It's completely trash. Oh yeah, Quake style. Yeah, man, cool stuff. Cool stuff. I really like the way how you handle material and weapons. I think I've never done 3D in this scope as you apparently did. I think weapons is always a good way to start out, because it teaches you a lot about, you know, science fiction shapes, and yeah, as you have implemented in the crate. Cool, man. Thanks for sharing. Crap what I'm doing. Yeah, so I decided to make it a dense jungle, because in the original there was a lot of light in the background shining through, which is cool, but for some reason I see this as a very dense forest, and the only spots where light is coming through is probably the left top corner, maybe the right corner, not sure. Yeah, man. Same here. Same here. I have to say though, you're getting really critical if you're a concept artist yourself. You constantly think how to improve a design or what you would have made different. So sometimes you stand in your own way of enjoying other artists' renditions of things. But it's a luxury problem, I guess. Oh yes, this dude. Yeah, I remember. He has a really cool way of working with colors. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Simon Stalenhag. Yeah, this is great stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I also enjoy looking at these images because it's so different. It has a completely different style that what you usually see amongst, I don't know, junior and regular artists. So yeah, cool dude. You probably know. I think these are my, well, I don't want to say all-time favorites, but very influential artists is Feng Zhu, Craig Mullins, and Sergei Kolesov. All right. Okay. Since we are in a jungle, most of the image should be tinted green. And the only part that is really not in this environment is the stones. So I have to give it a little bit of light reflection coming from the ground. You know, retint it slightly here and there. looks better. I'm also starting to apply depth to the image, so I desaturate the stuff in the background a little bit more, so not everything looks as close to the camera it's supposed to be. And maybe also block out a little bit the shapes here and there to have a grasp on what's happening, how the geometry looks like. Because this would be indeed my next step, figure out the architecture, so to speak. Yeah, sure, man. I might not be here if you return, because I have to leave in 20 minutes or 10 minutes actually. So at this point it's allowed to put a little bit of strokes here and there, a couple of details. It prevents you from smudging around too much, because it's not that easy to find the right sweet spot where you say, okay, it's the right color I want to have. Especially in the beginning, you have to develop a feeling for the type of colors you prefer, or develop a taste actually. And when it's not fully developed, sometimes what happened with me, I went overboard and smudged too much and killed the interesting colors and had to reapply photo images to get some color into the image back, some contrast. Okay. And it's also at this stage, it's totally fine to, how should I say, to start applying details, and when you see later on that something is off, you can still change the composition, because you work digitally, and for the most part I prefer to work on one layer, so I can easily cut things out and shift them around, and I can apply procedural effects on top of the image, so you don't have to apply one and the same effect to all your different layers and get into this layer hassle. And so I stay flexible, and the amount I pump into the image doesn't hurt it, or doesn't hurt my process. Okay. See if this is somehow interesting for us. Maybe a little path. I'm not sure. I think it's too bright, but still interesting to have some kind of stuff going on here, so probably leave it. yeah, it's a weird place, but it's very, yeah, the ground is a little bit strange. It's completely tilted, everything. I might want to fix that, but I think I will take care of it next time, because right now I have to leave, and for the next session I will prepare some more reference material to fill in the gaps with some interesting detail. But right now I'm quite satisfied with the overall colors of the image, and I have a better grasp on what's going on and where to put in detail. So thank you very, very, very much for watching. It has been a pleasure, and see you next time, whenever this will be. I'm not sure when, but you will see it on YouTube. If you miss it, you can just rewatch it. I usually try to upload every stream there. So thank you very much. Have a good day, have a good night. See you around.